A katana that can rust any armor, and it dulls any blade with each hit. I think we have all a good idea what that blade is going to be used for. I mean, they showed it at the end of this episode, and they showed us the flavor text. It's kind of obvious where this is leading at the end of this episode. Of course, from what I can see, is Akatsuki's going to be getting this weapon, because the shopkeeper, the person that was selling the old sword that she gave to the people of the land, that's currently killing people with it, she's feeling guilty. And of course, she's going to probably give a weapon, a good weapon, to Akatsuki to be able to fight this person with the armor. So, yeah, I see where this is going. I honestly see where the setup of the ending of this episode is going. It's pretty much setting up to where Akatsuki is going to get this weapon, and then she's going to attack the person's armor. The armor is going to rust, since the flavor texts override the laws of the world, pretty much. It will rust the dude's armor, and then she will be able to kill him, because pretty much every time she strikes another blade, it dulls. So pretty much with this revelation of this episode, we all have pretty much a good grasp of what is probably going to be happening next week to conclude this fight. But this week's episode of Log Horizon Season 2, there's a couple other little details going on in this episode, especially with, you know, a little bit of character development for Akatsuki. That's something I was actually kind of shocked about to see in this episode. For one thing, you have it to where she actually acknowledges her size. Since the very beginning of the first episode, I remember Akatsuki actually having issues and problems with her size. I remember she used to get very self-conscious about her size. She was always made fun of because of her size, and all of it. She was always worried that she was way too short or little compared to her, you know, her lord, Shiro. So, it was really interesting seeing how she actually accepted this weakness in the middle of this episode, and she realized that even though she has this weakness of being small, it's actually one of her greatest strengths, since she could go around an enemy that's super large and can actually attack him really quick. So, this overall little bit of character development for Akatsuki, I was glad we got to see something like that in this episode. We still did not get any rundown on what happened to Crusty, which kind of upsets me a little bit, because I want to fucking know what happened to him, because, I mean, you don't give me a cliffhanger from last week's episode where he just disappears into a fucking blade like a Reaper scythe, and then you just don't give me any more information. That really makes me mad. Apparently, from this episode, like, none of Krusty's guild members can actually contact him or anything, so that's not good. That's not good at all. He should probably be already revived if he was dead, so that's not good. Another thing, too, is apparently, I'm guessing if they're trying to contact him and call him, it's supposedly probably showing that he's alive for them to be able to contact him. Because I know if you're probably in certain games of RPGs, if a character is dead, usually you can't communicate with them because it'll say they're dead. So, most likely, Crusty is alive, but as I theorized last week, most likely he's inside that scythe. So, how the fuck are you going to get a person out of a scythe without breaking it? I mean, I guess the scythe has to be broken? Maybe a special item? I don't fucking know, but still, I mean, how is Crusty going to come back if he is in that scythe? That's just the big question we have to wonder. The other things going on in this episode, too, we had no rundown with what was going on with Shiro either. We had no idea what he was doing, which is also kind of upsetting, but I guess this episode was mainly focused on Akatsuki's side of her setup for this upcoming fight with this dude that is currently killing people at random. Now, we get a little bit of backstory on the sword that the dude is using in this episode. We find out the sword the dude's using was actually a sword to a dungeon boss, like a raid boss that used to use, like, kind of ice techniques, like blizzards and snow techniques, and pretty much he had a deep hatred towards these people that killed him. Like, he used to be a very compassionate and kind king, a lord pretty much, a hero, and he was betrayed by someone that loved him. He was poisoned, he was killed, and then in his rage, after he came back, I'm guessing as a dungeon boss, his rage seeped into that sword, and I guess his soul lingers on into that sword, and now it's corrupting the current dude that is, you know, killing people at random. So yeah, that's pretty much what's going on. It's pretty much what I theorized. I mean, a cursed sword will take over your mind. Pretty obvious. I guess that seemed to be a little bit true in this week's episode. Now, for the most part, the animation of this episode, it was okay. Not the best. Nothing too brilliant. It wasn't nothing bad either, but I mean, it was nothing so extravagant. I was like, oh my god, it's beautiful. So, pretty much animation, average for the most part of this episode. Music, love the music as always of Log Horizon. Seriously, how can I not love the music of Log Horizon? When you have database and different songs like that, it's fucking great. So, music is good as always. Now, for the most part, the episode is very slow. It's a very slow episode, and I could see exactly how certain people could probably be bored with this episode or feel like it's very slow or they didn't like this episode. I can understand that completely because, personally, the episode was slow. It definitely was. It was just set up for Akatsuki getting to find out what she's doing, and that's what the episode was about. So, if you don't like Akatsuki, or if you don't like Akatsuki-themed episodes, most likely you're not going to like this episode, and you're probably going to feel like it's really slow. But there's another thing going on in the background besides the entire events with Akatsuki 2 before I end this review. Pretty much, the princess. She's given a decision. She can either, just let things go and not care. Like, for instance, just to let them continue to fight this dude from the people of the land that has Royal Guard armor and continue to fight him. Or she could turn off the barrier in the city, the entire barrier, to where it comes down and it deactivates all the Royal Guards, and it causes it where monsters can actually run inside the city of Akiba, which is a really bad thing to do. That's really fucking bad if you're to deactivate the barrier and have monsters running through. And also, I'm guessing if Royal Guard is deactivated, or they can't activate anymore, and it can take decades for it to reactivate, that would mean probably people can kill each other in the city and get away with it. So, yeah, that's a major issue. Personally, I don't think the princess should really shut off the town's barrier, because if they did, that's like suicide. That really is fucking suicide if you shut off the town's barrier. But anyways, tell me your thoughts in the comments below, how you felt about this week's episode of Log Horizon Season 2. I love you all so much. You have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.